Okay, now, gentlemen. Trunks are okay here. Trunks are okay here. Now, guys, we went over the rules in the dressing room. I want you to keep the fight clean at all times. I want you to protect yourself at all times. And what I say, you must obey. Touch them up. Good luck.
Mayweather's uncle and trainer Roger was in no hurry to leave the ring, apparently wanting to make a last-minute point to officials and to referee Kenny Bayless that he thinks De La Hoya's cup protector is too high above his waistband. Round one begins, and the first major question of the fight: how well and how often can Oscar De La Hoya find Floyd Mayweather and make contact with him? Mayweather with a right hand across the top, first significant landed blow of the fight. Mayweather often leads with left hooks or straight right hands, does not lead with the jab nearly as often as you would expect a pure boxer to do. Right hand across the top for De La Hoya excites the crowd, and immediately De La Hoya begins hammering away with left hooks to the body. Mayweather blocked all of those with his arm, but Oscar came back upstairs with a left hook.
I don't think Oscar landed the right hand. I think the way that Floyd been down from it has created excitement with the crowd. I don't think anybody's had much contact so far.
No, maybe the most significant thing so far was the spirited effort that De La Hoya made to get at Mayweather's ribcage. Oscar has never been a particularly prolific body puncher. He acknowledges that he needs to do more body punching tonight. The one time Floyd Mayweather was in danger of losing a fight in his first fight against Jose Luis Castillo. Castillo barely ever looked upstairs and focused on the ribcage all night long.
Well, Oscar's trying to maneuver Floyd to the ropes. You can see that's his strategy. He's not doing too much because he can't deal with Floyd's speed in the center of the ring. He's tried to counter it, but he can't. So he's trying to get Floyd to the center, to the ropes before he can be effective.
Right. Mayweather in the middle of the ring is quicker, beating him to the punch. Oscar trying to figure out how to crowd him.
And this is typical Mayweather right here. One punch and then out of the way. He landed a left hook lead, moved away. He landed a right cross lead, moved away. There it is again, sticks a jab, moves away. De La Hoya has to try to find ways to engage with Mayweather and make him trade punches rather than to land in short bursts and then go away out of punching range.
I don't think that Oscar planned for this. Oscar planned to just walk in and be physical and just to force Floyd to the rope, but he didn't expect it so difficult to get in to do that. And right there, Floyd angled his body to the fact that he neutralized those left hook attempts by Oscar.
But he isn't throwing a jab either.
No, Oscar's not jabbing at all. I've always said Oscar's key was his jab, and he's not using his jab at all. Just trying to walk in and shoot power punches.
The names Atiana and Jacob on the back of De La Hoya's trunks. His two children who are not mothered by Millie Carrecher, his present wife. Obviously, so much attention was paid to his son Gabriel in the build-up to this fight that Oscar wanted to honor his other two children by putting their names on the back of the trunks.
So far, Floyd has really just ran by landing the only two clean punches of the round. And the fight
is... And that he wouldn't look good until a few rounds had gone by.
Well, CombiBox numbers in round one were by no means definitive. De La Hoya 3 out of 26.
Yeah,
Mayweather 7 out of 35. And that's a Mayweather-type round, both in terms of the speed and pace and the number of punches landed.
The first jab that Oscar really threw snapped his head back.
Good left hook inside by De La Hoya. And for a moment there, they exchanged punches. That's what Oscar De La Hoya needs. Now he lands a jab again across the top.
Now, if Oscar's continue to do that and mount his attacks off of the jab, particular jab in that Mayweather's left eye, which will neutralize Mayweather counterpunching, he'll do very well.
Good right hand across the top from De La Hoya. Mayweather now feels a need to answer back. Leads with the left hook, steps away again. So Oscar's kind of gotten his feet wet here in the first minute of the second round, landing both a left hook inside and a right hand across the top against Floyd Mayweather. There's another straight right hand landing for De La Hoya, and a jab and a right hand again, and the crowd goes nuts as De La Hoya begins to take over offensively, fighting the bigger man fight.
I think Oscar's fighting perfectly as long as he operates behind the jab before he goes in, but those right hands wasn't that effective. Mayweather rolled those right hands. It looked good to the crowd, but they didn't land effectively.
They landed enough to make the point that he's landing punches while Floyd isn't throwing.
He's winning this round, I'll tell you that much. If he continues doing what he's doing, he'll win this round.
next is Oscar. You can expect a lot of that as long as he's still in the fight. Straight right hand by Mayweather. De La Hoya flurries before Floyd moves away. Now Mayweather goes to his own jab.
You have to watch Floyd start jabbing, and then all of a sudden he'll change the jab into a leaping left hook.
De La Hoya with 3 body shots in a row. Clearly a bigger focus on the body tonight than in previous fights. As soon as Mayweather threw his right hand, Oscar tried to land a left hook upstairs. Mayweather slips away from the jab. Oscar reaching, having trouble finding Mayweather. There'll be a lot of that.
And Oscar's doing a very good job of neutralizing Mayweather's left hook too, which is Mayweather's pet punch.
That and the straight right hand lead, of which we haven't seen many so far.
Nope, hardly no right hand.
Oscar tried to lead with a right hand over the top. Trying to get a left hook between Mayweather's guard. Acknowledges to us, which was provided to him by De La Hoya. Although sitting in the seat provided by Oscar, he was non-committal as to who he was rooting for in the fight, saying that he had extremely mixed feelings that it was even taking place. You saw the CompuBox numbers, which slightly favored De La Hoya in the second round. Wailing away with the left hook, trying to get at Mayweather's body. Mayweather blocking the shots with his right arm. Now the left hook lands upstairs. And he lands a right cross across the top. And for the first time in the fight, Mayweather looks genuinely on the defensive.
Oscar's fighting a perfect fight right now. He's being aggressive, not trying to think too much, because if he thinks, he's not going to beat Floyd thinking. But he's very effective.
Sledgehammer punching across the top. Mayweather this time backs Oscar off with a body shot. Now pops him with the jab. Mayweather seemingly able to land his jab when he wants to throw it.
These are 2 boxing savants trying to find the right formula to fight each other.
Oscar's got to be more effective and stop thinking too much, because when he thinks too much, he's playing right into Mayweather's hand. When he lets the punches go, he does very well.
Yep, you saw what happens when Oscar waits and gives Mayweather time. Mayweather landed the left hook lead, stepped to the side, then landed a straight right hand lead. It would appear that what De La Hoya needs to do is to attack and flurry and apply the relentless pressure that so many people in his camp talked about offering.
He shot a good flurry there, but I don't know if he got winded or whatever, but he's falling right back into playing the traps. Whether you land a clean punch on Floyd is not that important. Hit him on the shoulders, elbows, anywhere, just hoping that the weight size and the strength will wear him down as the fight goes on.
Mayweather able to duck back straight away from punches because he's so quick on his feet. Good quick left hook there by Floyd Mayweather.
That's his key punch, and Oscar seems to have been blocking it all night long. He's been very ineffective with that punch so far.
Straight right hand lead for Mayweather. Tremendously effective with that punch. And instantly he moves away to the side. Left hook lead, moves away to the side. This is vintage Mayweather. This is why De La Hoya needs to find a way to plant him against the ropes, make him stationary, and force exchanges. He was able to do it at the first part of this round. For the last minute and a half, Floyd has been back into his game.
Yep, Oscar's got to be a little bit more aggressive, continue to keep moving in, throwing punches, whether he has a clear target or not, and when he finishes up with the punches, move forward anyway.
This round is on the table for somebody to flurry and steal it in the last 20 seconds. It's been relatively even up to now. Let's see who will try to apply the activity down the stretch. And there's your answer.
Mayweather said he wanted to go toe-to-toe. What he really wants is to go hand-to-hand.
Good stop, which will impress the judges more. And incidentally, these first 3 rounds, not unlike the first 3 rounds of Mayweather-Judah, when Zab Judah was able to threaten Floyd and make him uncomfortable from time to time, but eventually Mayweather settled into a groove and won the fight. Harold, how'd you score the first 3?
Okay, Jim, 2 rounds to 1, 29-28, Floyd Mayweather Jr. In rounds 1 and 3, Jim, I just thought he outpunched him with that left jab and the left hook. Round 2 against Oscar De La Hoya, good aggressiveness, he got off, threw some real good shots, but 1 and 3 to Floyd Mayweather, 29-28, 2-1 to Floyd.
And again, here at the beginning of round 4, we see Mayweather landing the cleaner shots. Oscar De La Hoya, throughout his career, has had a tendency sometimes to tire toward the end of 12-round fights.
It's always been a concern that I ever had with him. In this case here, also, he's fighting flat-footed. And he's not that effective. When Oscar gets on his toes, he punches better, and he is still one of the best left jabs in boxing. He just isn't using it in this fight. And in recent years, he hasn't used it that much.
He worked in training camp on being more relaxed and less intense, but in the ring tonight, it's the same intensity we've always seen.
And the way he's fighting, I have a feeling he's going to tire going down the stretch. I just see that in his body movement.
No question, Mayweather is the more relaxed of the two competitors.
But the pace of this fight shouldn't tire him. He's not getting punched much unless Mayweather steps up the pace. There's no reason he should get tired late in the fight.
Oscar seems to be very tense. You know, with a guy with all of the fights he has, he seems to be more tense.
Well, he's always fought like he had a balled fist, and that has helped to tire him.
There are the body shots, and there is a sustained attack to the body like nothing you've seen in De La Hoya's career. So an adjustment finally shows up, something he will have to do differently, and he seems concertedly aware of it in that moment. And because he throws the body shots, he pins Mayweather against the ropes and gets a chance to try a couple of shots upstairs. They go back to the center of the ring, and it's back to being Floyd's fight. Oscar De La Hoya threw about 12 body shots in a row.
Yeah, but I didn't see it. I mean, I don't think they was effective. They wasn't effective. I see it. Floyd is placing precision punches right there.
I don't see those punches landing.
No, they're not, but they're getting closer. He's getting closer and closer. I see as the fight goes on, Oscar's going to be getting hit with a lot of clean shots like that, I believe. Here you can see Oscar throwing his volley of punches, particularly a series of left hooks. To me, I don't personally think any of those punches was that effective to me. I know he's landing me a lot of effort, and I think he's exerting himself, and Floyd is relaxing all the time while he's doing that.
He punches in much greater volume than ever before.
What you hear from Roger Mayweather, the trainer in the corner, is they are really counting on De La Hoya tiring in the last third of the fight. Twice now we've heard Roger Mayweather said he's going to get tired, you'll get him later in the fight.
Good quick left hook inside by Mayweather and a big right hand upstairs by Floyd. Biggest shot of the night for Mayweather. Power punches through 4, De La Hoya 29 out of 108. Mayweather precise and accurate, 33 out of 58.
Keep it clean now, here we go.
And I think the point is quite well taken. De La Hoya fighting this way does appear to be tiring
That's what I feel the same way. I see the tension in him. I just see his body rhythm as if he's beginning to tire, and throwing a lot of punches, but I don't think he's been effective.
It's one thing to say you're going to be more relaxed, but there's so much pressure in trying to find Floyd Mayweather within the time frame of 12 rounds. And again, De La Hoya tries to set something up with the body and then go upstairs.
You know, what Oscar's doing is the best thing he can do. I think it's good, but the only thing I've been concerned about him not getting tired. What he's doing is proper, but it seems like he's getting tired.
Emmanuel, maybe he will get tired, but right now the fight is happening, and it's a very close fight. We don't really know yet who's going to get tired at the end.
One thing I would say is that Oscar De La Hoya should throw his jab more, but I'm sure he's reluctant to throw the jab because of the quick right-hand counters of Floyd Mayweather. He's so quick and slinky with his right hand. Every time De La Hoya gets Mayweather near the ropes, you can feel the urgency as Oscar tries to suddenly take advantage of the opportunity.
You know, it scores points, it shows his aggression, and if in a close round, if he does this 2 or 3 times around, he'll get the benefit of the doubt.
There's a red abrasion on the outside of De La Hoya's right eye, probably from a Mayweather left hook. Straight right hand across the top from Floyd Mayweather. He uses that punch increasingly down the stretch of those fights in which he's comfortable and confident. De La Hoya briefly landed a right cross across the top.
I like that Mayweather is standing right in with De La Hoya here. This is toe-to-toe.
And now the hand speed difference shows up in the center of the ring.
Right, he feels he can beat Oscar to the punch and is willing to take the risk of getting hit.
And the big hand speed edge for Mayweather puts De La Hoya on the defensive as soon as they're in the middle of the ring. And Mayweather is trying to knock Oscar out with a right hand. Landed that one clean and flush. It would be very satisfying for Mayweather after all the talk about the possibility that De La Hoya, the bigger man, might knock him out if he could score a knockout of Oscar.
Be you, that's all you have to be you.
Here you see Floyd land a right hand on Oscar. This is a right hand right on the side of the head, over top of his extended jab. And I think later on he lands another right hand, which is a different type of right hand. This is a right hand through the center. Oscar is actually making the fight and throwing the punches, but it's not being that effective decision. But I think fatigue is going to set in as the fight goes on.
And gradually, round to round, CompuBox numbers begin to reflect Mayweather's edge. In the last 2 rounds, he has a 34-20 superiority over De La Hoya in power shots landed. The faster hands of Floyd Mayweather are becoming more and more a factor in the fight. This is round 6 of a scheduled 12.
This is high-speed chess between 2 outstanding fighters, but plainly the speedier is Mayweather.
Stop! Here we go.
Which is why De La Hoya is trying so hard to get to the body and apply some of the pressure that might slow Mayweather down a little bit. The other option was to try to stop speed with the jab, as Vernon Forrest did to Shane Mosley. That's not working as well. So once again, De La Hoya goes back to work chopping wood, trying to get at Mayweather's ribcage the way Jose Luis Castillo did back in the 135-pound weight class.
When you're fighting a defensive genius like Mayweather, and you have a great punch like the left hook that Oscar has, and he's looking for it, you could wait all night and all weekend and not land it.
Oscar was fortunate to beat Pernell Whitaker years ago without landing a single significant left hook in the fight. He knew good and well that Floyd Mayweather might be able to take away his money punch upstairs. Good job of defense here by De La Hoya as he ducks and slips in the center of the ring. Suddenly making Mayweather miss. Floyd got a little sloppy with arcing shots over the top. Not normally the way he punches. And again, De La Hoya tries to set something up with the body before changing upstairs. Quick right hand. 2 punches blocked by De La Hoya. Good round for Oscar here.
Good round for Oscar.
His best round since early in the fight. Now there's a quick left hook that lands for Mayweather. De La Hoya short with the right hand, but gets in a left. And once again, Oscar answers fire with fire. So with 35 seconds to go in this round, De La Hoya is mounting a little mini comeback in the middle of the fight. Straight right hand lands for Mayweather, and he skips out of the way. Mayweather going back to that right hand lead. Part of his bread and butter. Lands a left hook, and De La Hoya just stands there. Suddenly the round begins to even up. So De La Hoya pressures him against the ropes.
There we go.
Quick left hook lead by Mayweather. Problem for De La Hoya.
But Oscar's had great defense this round himself. He's the guy that's been catching Mayweather's punches round.
And again, they're near the ropes. And again, De La Hoya gets to Floyd Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya. You saw the CompuBox numbers, which show the percentage edge for Mayweather. He's landing more punches and landing a very high percentage of his power shots, 56%. That's because of the fast hands. But De La Hoya keeps on trying. Harold, how do you have it through 6?
Okay, Jim, 58, 56, 4 rounds to 2. Floyd Mayweather Jr. Jim, every time they get in one of these face-to-face stand-downs like they are now, Floyd Mayweather throws the first punch. He gets off first, he pops Oscar De La Hoya with a left or a right, and Oscar can't get back on it. This time, Oscar attacked him. But Oscar does that like he did in round 6. He wins the rounds. But basically, it's been Mayweather getting off first, landing more clean shots.
And just to show you that Oscar heard Freddie Roach, Roach asked for the jab, and suddenly Oscar unfurls a bunch of jabs.
That is the key to Oscar's aggression, is the jab, because that'll make Mayweather bend back, twist his body, and then he's effective after that. But Oscar's fighting a very determined fight. I can see he is determined to win this fight if it's the last thing that he does. Whether he wins or not, he's putting every effort, doing everything properly. And if he can hold up stamina-wise, he's got a good chance of winning it going down the stretch.
Might win the fight. I mean, it's started to say it might be the last thing he does, whether he wins or loses, at least in a prize fight ring. Dela Hoya suddenly dispenses with throwing the jab. He should keep at it. That set up his offense in the first minute of this round. When he's not throwing his jab, he gives Mayweather the chance to measure and wait and figure out when he wants to land his lead left hook or right hand. When he is throwing the jab, Mayweather backs up and doesn't throw.
Oscar has a great jab. And actually, Mayweather doesn't have the jab. But really, jab has always been Oscar. Mayweather has fast hands, but not that authoritative jab the way that Oscar has.
Oscar blocking a left-hand shot with his right glove.
Question is, will we get the drama we were hoping for in the second half of this fight?
Mayweather lands 2 right-hand shots over the top. Well, we're into the second half.
Right, and as Mayweather is more willing to stand and trade, maybe we will get some theatrics.
Good body shot by Mayweather. And he comes back to the body and hammers Dela Hoya again. Big left hook upstairs by Mayweather. Now Dela Hoya feels the need to rally and goes back to throwing the jab.
Stop! Watch your shoulder, watch your shoulder.
You just can't speed Floyd Mayweather up. You can't make him throw 60, 70 punches around. He fights in staccato bursts. He likes it that way. Dela Hoya trying to pressure.
Well, if Floyd doesn't punch back, Oscar's going to win this round.
And he's got to fight like he's going to get 12 hard rounds from his opponent.
I think his opponent has told him that he's going to have to step it up a little bit. This is the last half. Oscar does seem to be a little fatigued, but he's still working. He's still throwing punches, and he's pushing the fight. Floyd is very accurate, as Jim said, but not active enough. And the fight is getting closer and closer, and actually, in my mind, I see Oscar pulling ahead.
In round 7, if Dela Hoya won the round, he did it for a simple reason. He threw 38 jabs, landed 11. He's got to keep being active with the jab to heighten his chances of winning the fight. Between rounds, Bernard Hopkins stood up from his seat near Dela Hoya's corner and screamed, jab. Hopkins, of course, one of Dela Hoya's business partners in Golden Boy, along with Shane Mosley, who sparred with him. Another Dela Hoya flurry, and the crowd rises again. Once again, Oscar being more active, setting up the assault with the jab, putting Mayweather on the defensive, Mayweather countering back accurately.
That's been his most effective punch tonight. Not his left hook, not his right hand, not a body punch. Oscar De La Hoya's left jab is his best punch when he uses it.
You got to take the chance that you're going to get clocked with a counter right. That's why Oscar sometimes pulls the jab and puts it back in the holster. But when he uses it, he puts Mayweather on the defensive. He's got to keep doing that. Mayweather with a hard right hand over the top. De La Hoya has stopped using the jab, and Floyd is picking his shots again.
No, but De La Hoya is picking them off because they're one shot at a time.
Well, that's the way Floyd fights, one shot at a time.
Well,
combinations are relatively rare.
Well, then that's something that Oscar is exploiting.
But actually, Floyd hasn't found a way to really penetrate Oscar with a solid punch. His main punch is springing left hook that he leaps at. Oscar's blocked that all night long for the most part.
No, it's when he counters that he does best.
The best, most authoritative punch between the two of them tonight has been the left jab of Oscar. That's been extremely effective when he throws it. Other than that, everything else has pretty much been deflected.
But he seems to have forgotten it since the beginning of this round. Now there's a jab.
In my view, Emmanuel, since I thought that Mayweather, who is almost a 2-to-1 favorite, was supposed to win this fight, given his youth, given his talent, that Oscar is doing very, very well to stay in the fight with him this long.
And then on top of that, look at it, maybe possibly pulling ahead on the scorecard.
Well, in this round, he's the more energetic fighter. And Mayweather's accuracy has receded a little bit in this round, as De La Hoya has done a pretty good job of picking off punches with his gloves.
And Floyd is having a problem with hitting Oscar with anything really clearly in the finish.
Mayweather looking for one more big counter shot.
Yeah,
Oscar looking for one definitive rally down the stretch of the round. They both got it.
You say at the end of the round, where Oscar De La Hoya is doing what he's been doing most of the rounds, is close, coming in, throwing punches. Whether they land clean or not is not that important, but he's roughing him up in addition to that. Elbows, everything. And he's probably winning these rounds by doing that.
This is the perception is this is an even fight, close to it. Now the tension builds. Now perhaps the drama will build.
Well, and you wonder if Mayweather recognizes the danger of throwing 35 punches in a round where the opponent throws 68. I mean, Manny, your point is quite well taken. It doesn't much matter whether you're landing if you're throwing twice as much as the other guy.
And then actually Floyd is having a problem of hitting Oscar now. So he's throwing punches, but he has not found a way to penetrate.
I'll tell you what, the body punches have taken their toll. Maybe he didn't land them at a high rate, but Mayweather is defensive when Oscar goes to the body.
I think that Oscar's some kind of way figured out Floyd's rhythm is taking his punches away from him.
Big right hand over the top by Mayweather, but one punch at a time.
And Oscar sees it. He's half deflecting those shots. Floyd still cannot find a way to get clean punches together. He blocked that punch.
Good left hook, but partially blocked, as Manny pointed out.
Tell me something, Emmanuel. How does a fighter get to be considered a great fighter as he throws basically one punch at a time? Although this is maybe one of the best flurries he's had all night.
Well, it's not that difficult to be the greatest. I've never considered him great. He's considered a pound for pound, but the Ray Leonards and all of that stuff, compared him and Ray Robinson, no. He's a good fighter.
Look, he's won all of his fights, and he's won 36 out of the 37 pretty unquestionably. So, you know, obviously, from a competitive standpoint, that's hard to argue with.
Yeah,
but this sport is also about theater.
It's about theater and the caliber guys that he fought to some degree. But
Well,
he's a very talented fighter.
Another De La Hoya rally against the rope, throwing and throwing. Mayweather grinning as if to say the crowd misinterprets all this, but the fact is he's being swamped by activity in those moments.
He's winning the fight because he's busy, and Floyd cannot hit Oscar. Oscar's defense is pretty good.
Hit him that time. Incidentally, CompuBox somewhat disagrees with us about accuracy, Manny. They had Floyd landing 20 of 35 in the last round. That's high accuracy.
This is a good moment here, and for Mayweather, who senses that there is some urgency now.
He's thrown more in this round. And perhaps this is the beginning of the stretch run. He's been saying all along that De La Hoya would fade toward the end of the fight. We're into round 9. So perhaps Mayweather's mentality is, now's the time when I pick up the pace and separate myself from him, as was the case against Zab Judah.
Step back, please, fellas. There we go.
But
Watch your
Zab
head.
actually cut off. Oscar's still very aggressive.
I know
Oscar's very aggressive.
I know Oscar De La Hoya, and he ain't no Zab Judah.
Thank you.
Harold Letterman, how do you have it to this point?
Look at Jim, 87, 84, 6 rounds to 3, Floyd Mayweather Jr. Jim, in that 9th round, I mean, Oscar De La Hoya throws one big flurry, the crowd goes nuts, and he never throws another flurry the entire round. I don't understand it. He looks at him, he looks at him, he looks at him, and in the meantime, Floyd's popping him with clean, effective, hard punches. 6 to 3, Mayweather.
I have it 5 to 4 for Mayweather.
And please note that Harold Letterman gave the 8th round to Mayweather, a round that I personally thought might have gone to De La Hoya. So that's one of the reasons for the 3-point margin on the Letterman card. Once again in the last round, De La Hoya threw 61 punches to 35 for Mayweather. Judges aren't always that great at discerning what lands and what doesn't. They are better at simply counting punches.
Well, and also from different sides of the ring, you may see a slightly different fight.
And you know, we never know what the effect of the crowd may have on these judges here, too. Every time Oscar flurries, the crowd really erupts, whether he lands a clean punch or not. And that happens sometimes. But I give Oscar credit because Floyd has not been able to hit him that easy still. He's coming in, he's picking off Floyd's punches for the most part. Floyd looks flashy, but he's having problems hitting Oscar.
He said he would massacre Oscar. He better hurry up if he's going to massacre him.
Well, I've been certain all along that Floyd Mayweather would win the fight, but I'm pretty amazed at what Oscar De La Hoya has shown at this age and after his long stretch of inactivity. This is a spirited effort.
Very spirited effort, very determined effort, too.
Mayweather once again, more accurate, sharper puncher through this point in the 10th round. Oscar looking for one of those chances to pin him against the ropes and flurry. It has not happened here in the 10th. I think the mistake De La Hoya has made in the last couple of rounds is he put the jab back into the holster. Just hasn't thrown it enough. That, of course, probably has to do with the quick right-hand counters of Floyd Mayweather.
Now he's playing in the Floyd's game, playing mind games.
Mayweather more elusive now, making it harder for Oscar to find those opportunities.
Work out, fellas.
Fight beginning to turn in the direction of the favorite. Mayweather dropping his hands as if to say, go ahead and lead, I'll counter you. Frustrating round for De La Hoya. 10 rounds finished, 2 rounds to go.
Keep his ass in the center.
Here you see Floyd landing a right hand at the end of the round. It's partly because of Oscar.
De La Hoya only 7 out of 62 in that round, his lowest number of connected punches since the first round. Mayweather 20 out of 44. That was the most one-sided round in the fight so far. And perhaps a harbinger of what Mayweather's been saying all along, that De La Hoya would fade down the stretch and he would begin to dominate him in the late rounds. This is round 11. The most satisfying knockout victory of Oscar De La Hoya's career took place in the 11th round against Fernando Vargas. But it was Vargas who was tiring that night.
Yeah, and Vargas, but Floyd is a different fighter here.
Big time. Right hand pot shots for Mayweather. De La Hoya not jabbing, leaving himself open for Mayweather's opportunities. De La Hoya must jab and put Mayweather on the defensive. He has not been able to do it the last couple of rounds.
Oscar is getting tired, and not just physically, it seems like mentally he's becoming very drained now.
No, this is becoming like a sparring session for Mayweather, because if De La Hoya doesn't throw, he has no chance. Right hand lead that time by De La Hoya. Mayweather skipping away along the ropes, hammers Oscar with a right hand in the center of the ring. Hits him again. Hand speed difference more and more apparent. Mayweather beginning to operate like a surgeon.
Oscar's totally abandoned his left jab, which is his most effective punch he's had tonight.
Good body shot by De La Hoya.
Lots of punches, but nothing effective.
De La Hoya has been unable to land a big punch, and Mayweather doesn't punch hard enough to make a serious impact on De La Hoya.
Well,
so we have a boxing match which doesn't quite live up to the hope and the hype everyone had.
at the height of his reign as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the sport, it didn't matter who Pernell Whitaker fought. You would pick him to win by unanimous decision. It was the logical choice. At the height of Roy Jones's reign as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the sport, it didn't matter who he fought. You would pick him to win by unanimous decision. It was the logical choice. It didn't matter who Floyd Mayweather was fighting tonight. The logical choice was Mayweather by unanimous decision.
He's fighting a very smart fight now. He threw a looping right hand at Oscar. He threw another looping. Then he threw the right hand between the gloves. He's keeping Oscar totally confused right now. I guess he's abandoned landing that left hook, which Oscar seems to block every time he throws. So he's now concentrating on him, Oscar, with right hands.
Hard right hand by De La Hoya. His most effective punch in 3 rounds. Crowd tries to root Oscar into position to take advantage, throwing many more punches than did Oscar De La Hoya. The pattern throughout the fight had been the opposite. Now De La Hoya knows he must go for the knockout in the 12th round. He landed a big right hand toward the end of the 11th. It probably wasn't enough to put Mayweather in any jeopardy.
Look out, look out.
12th round knockout, if it were to happen, would be the first of De La Hoya's career. Right now, Mayweather, it's once again who's landing clean punches. And once again, Mayweather throwing more as De La Hoya seems to search for the opportunity for one big punch. The jab was the key, and when Oscar stopped throwing it in around 8, the fight began to tilt in Mayweather's favor.
Yeah, Mayweather has no answer for Oscar's jab.
Step back. Here we go.
Almost impossible to hunt as elusive a fighter as Floyd Mayweather down with one big shot. The only chance for De La Hoya at this point, it would appear, would be to get another one of those big rallies against the ropes and somehow land a left hook. And we mentioned that a great defensive fighter like Mayweather could largely take away the money weapon like the left hook. De La Hoya hasn't landed one of those big, super clean left hooks upstairs all night long.
And neither have Floyd. Both of them best punches are left hooks, believe it or not. But the main thing is Floyd needs to be fresher, thinking, punching crispier, seems to be more in control of his body and everything else. And that may impress the judges.
Just much faster hands. Yes. Much more command in the closing rounds.
But Oscar's fought a very determined fight regardless of what the outcome is.
This is an argument with fists, and the younger man appears to be winning the argument.
De La Hoya visibly determined not to go quietly into that good night. But fighting Floyd Mayweather is a dose of cold reality. This flurry will warm the hearts of De La Hoya's millions of fans. But the judges are watching the accurate clinical retaliation of a truly great fighter at the peak of his skills.
It's very likely that Cinco de Mayo is becoming Mayweather.
Was it one last hurrah for a giant pot of money? Or will De La Hoya make good on his promise to keep on fighting even after this? And where does Mayweather go from this pinnacle after claiming that he's going to retire? They fight to the finish and please the crowd.
A good fight, and by the reaction of the crowd, the dramatics at the end gave them what they came for.
A better fight than a lot of people anticipated, but with the likely outcome seemingly written in stone. And the crowd appreciates both. Oscar De La Hoya unloaded 82 punches in the 12th round, trying to find the one big shot. And incidentally, in the closing seconds, he finally landed that left hook, Manny.
Yeah.
A parting shot, as it were.
It was a good finish.
Mayweather 25 out of 54 in the 12th. His accuracy all night long was a mark of his greater hand speed, his youth, his fire, his ability to be the best fighter in the sport. Let's take a look at the 3 official judges, carefully chosen. Chuck Jumper, one of the veterans of the trade, 114 title fights. Easy card in Mayweather's win over Valdemir the night that Floyd won all 12 rounds. Sami Kazmarek from New Jersey brought in for this. Had Hasim Rahman even with James Toney in Atlantic City a year and a half ago. And Jerry Roth, who was also a judge on that night back in the late 1990s when Oscar De La Hoya squared off against Felix Trinidad, and who had Mayweather a winner by 4 points in his first fight with Jose Luis Castillo the night that some ringsiders thought that Floyd had actually lost. Millie De La Hoya can be proud of her man. Floyd Mayweather Sr. can be proud of his son and of the fighter he's trained for the last 7 years.
It was a very good fight. I was very impressed with both of the guys. They fought good. They fought to the best of their ability. But I tell you what, I know one thing. Floyd Mayweather Jr. has a lot more respect for Oscar after this fight here, because it's the roughest fight he's been in.
Let's go to Michael Buffer for the scores and the decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the MGM Grand, we go to the scorecards. Tommy Kazmarek scores the bout 115-113. Dela Hoya. Chuck Jampus scores the bout 116-112. Mayweather. Jerry Roth scores the bout 115-113 to the winner by split decision and new WBC Super Welterweight Champion of the World, Pretty Boy, Floyd.